Hey everybody, welcome back to another video with me, Andy. I hope you're all doing well. Before we start, if you like this video, please do me a favour and leave it a like on there. Also, comment. It's nice to hear your comments. Obviously, as long as they're not negative. Obviously, constructive criticism's fine, but you do unfortunately get a few people who are just a bit nasty out there, who just seem to want to, you know exactly what I mean. Anyway, let's get on with this fly. So, as you can see, we're going to be doing, this one's actually slightly wet because I've just been playing around with it. We're going to be tying one of these, which is a zonker version of a sculpin, or a jig zonker version of a sculpin. Great pattern, especially for big early season trout. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So, the hook we've got in the vise here, this is a trout line. This is a Competition ST 320 jig fly in a size 4, so it's a big jig. And the bead we've got in here, again, another big bead, a 5.5mm, again, trout line, tungsten slotted bead. Now, to start off, we're actually going to use some vineyard lead wire. This is just a small. I'm just going to put this at the head. This is basically just going to be a bit of extra weight and also just a bit easier way of getting the bead to stay where we want it. So put several turns on there, however many several is, maybe 8, 9, I don't know, whatever. Whatever you feel is appropriate. You just put this excess in the bin. And once you've got it on there, just slide it into the recess section of the slotted bead. Now, the very start of this fly, I'm actually going to use a very slightly different thread. If I can find it, I did have it right in front of me. Because I actually just tied another one of these. There we go. We're going to be using some of the UTC. This is 140 denier. Black. So we're just going to start this quickly at the head. This is just going to secure the bead in place. Just while, because it's nice and thick and it's just easy to quickly get a little bit of bulk behind the bead. There we go, done. And then our main thread is going to be Textreme. This is 6/0 Textreme in black. You can use olive as well. I just use the black because the fish don't seem to care which thread you use on this fly. So we'll just start that, wind it over. All you need to do is wind it over your other thread and come in with a sharp pair of scissors and just trim off the 3 excess pieces, or the 3 pieces you need to trim off. So for the tail, we're going to be using this barred, got light olive and dark olive with the black stripes on it, and we're just going to measure it 1 length, 2 lengths of the actual full length of the fly. Now we're going to trim that off. You can use any zonker strip you want. You can even use natural, you can use black, you can use standard olives, up to you what you want the strip you want to use. At this moment I'm just cutting like a little V section just into the point there, just so, I don't even know why I do that, to be honest. I don't know whether it makes a difference or not, but I do it on these streamers anyway. I never do it on my zonkers or still waters. For some reason I do it on these. Weird, eh? But what you're going to do is tie it in actually upside down. As you can see, I've peeled off some of the fur on top just to create less bulk. So because you've got this bulky section here, I'm actually going to butt it up against that, and then that way there should be about similar thicknesses, just so you haven't got any crazy lumps and bumps down your fly. So I'm just trying to tie this in just so it's nice and straight, just at the back, and then come underneath, do a turn underneath, and then a turn over the top, and just do a few more turns up the body, just to make sure it's nice and secure. And that should do us. So there's your tail in for your fly. So next thing, I don't know why, but I actually use a different colour zonker strip for the body. So I use this darker olive one with a black stripe going down the back of it, just to create, I don't even know, to be honest, you could probably use exactly the same as this, but I like to use the darker one. It just creates that, I don't know, I just like the very slightly darker body for mine. I think it's just more of a preference thing than an actual fish catching thing. But anyway, I've incorporated some of that into my Petit-Jean clip here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the other clip and then just slide it out. Now what I need to do is just come up with a pair of scissors and just trim up. I need to get a new pair of long scissors for doing this. I just don't have a pair at the moment. So I'm just coming up. So there's your zonker strip in the clip. Now grab your left hand or your right hand and just, what you're doing is running your thumb and forefinger down the thread, and then use your nail to come up. I need to grab my dubbing needle, and this is basically doing a split thread technique, and then just split the thread over your nail, just like that, and then we're going to incorporate our zonker. So just put that in the loop and then pull it back very gently, so there's maybe 1.5 millimeters left, just like that, easy peasy. And now all you got to do is put your left hand on the thread, right hand on your bobbin, and just spin your bobbin. I'm going to spin this for a good 5, 6, 7 seconds or so. And when you finish, just run your fingers up your thread until it spins. Now it hasn't really spun that much, so I'm just going to spin the bobbin again for another 3 or 4 seconds. Stop, and then run my fingers back up again. That's spun a lot more this time. And that's basically for security. Now it's trapped more of those fibres in more securely. And then just start at the back and just brush it back each time with your hand. Just keep brushing it back. That kind of caught a few fibres in there which I didn't want it to. There we go, it's better. All the way at the front of this fly. So that's like the back section now of your body done. Now next step, what we're going to do, this is some perfect rubber in olive. I'm going to actually tie some of these in. So I'm going to cut like the full length of them, because what we'll do is we'll fold them around the body. So these are a good few inches long. And what I want them is to go around about, I'm just going to straighten these up, around a bit halfway down the length of the tail. Maybe slightly longer than that, maybe towards the back of the tail. I'm going to tie them in on one side, flip them over the other side. Are they long enough? No, I'm going to actually make these longer. I'm going to make them, just don't look right when they're that small for some reason. I'm actually going to make them slightly longer. I don't know why, they just weren't looking right. So I'm making these the full length of the tail now. So just tie them in one side, flip them over, tie them in on the other side. I'm just basically positioning them correctly, or trying to position them correctly. So that's them tied in now. Just grab these and grab these. So basically grabbing both sides, just comparing the lengths. I'm just going to trim this side off the same length as the other side. So there's your rubber legs in now, both sides. Now next step, we're just going to create a tiny bit of flash, so a little bit of sparkle on the fly. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to spin my bobbin anti-clockwise, and that's basically, because I spun mine clockwise to split the thread for the zonker at the back, so I'm now spinning anti-clockwise just to make sure that it's unspun, or not spun so tightly. And what we're going to use for this next section is some of the Sci-Bi Spectra Flash in Peacock. Now I'm just going to run my fingers down the thread. I'm actually just going to moisten this wing slightly, just so this zonker strip isn't getting in my way. Just running my fingers down this thread just to flatten it. Ouch. Pardon me, I banged the camera because I banged my hand. Come in with your finger, sorry, your dubbing needle, just split the thread. Now we're just going to grab some of this Sci-Bi Spectra, and we're just basically placing it into our dubbing loop. So there you go, it's stuck in there nicely. What you got to do again is spin your bobbin. And then, as normal, just run your fingers up the thread, get those fibres really spinning, really trapped in there nicely, and then try not to get everything else trapped like I just did there, and just do a few turns. I'm going to have a little bit of space left here at the head because that's what we want. And that's going to be perfect. I actually don't need to brush those out. Normally I've got to brush it out. For some reason it's gone quite nicely. Got a few fibres here that need brushing down the body though, on the top. You want these fibres long, you don't want them short, you don't want them clumped up, you just want them spread down the body. So the next step, we're going to be using some of this partridge. This is picric. I'll actually turn it over so you can see the label. This is selected brown partridge, and it's dyed in picric, which is olivey yellow colour. And we're going to get 2 of these, and these are going to be like our fins. I don't actually have mine protruding quite much, like a lot. Now I'm going to, because I actually do have a little wing cover in these. This is mainly for me to create the shape that I want. So what you want to do is, you can see the curve, they need to curve outwards, not inwards. So I'll tie one in this side. There we go. I'm actually going to pull it back slightly because that fin's too big. So there's one of the fins on this side. Grab a similarly sized feather for the other side. Again, and just trying to see how long the other one is. Just do a couple of turns over the top, and if it's too long I'm just going to pull it back slightly. There we go. And then just do another locking turn. Now come in with a pair of, I'll actually use my really sharp scissors. Come in with your sharp scissors and just trim off the excess. Perfect. Now for the very finish of the fly, we're going to use this small little Petit-Jean clip. Just going to get everything out of the way because everything's on my desk. And grab the same Zonka strip, so the olive with the black line over the top of it. As I said, you can use any Zonka strip you want. These are just ones I prefer. Again, put it in your clip. Now oopsie daisy, drop your clip on the down. That's an essential, like you've actually got to drop your clip just to make sure that everything's fine. What we're going to do is come in, I don't know, it's difficult to show you, just trim off the Zonka. Now what I do is put my finger each end, just so nothing slips, and just position those fibres where I want them. Now I'm going to grab the slightly smaller clip, put it over the top, slide it out, so there is your Zonka strippy. Now come in with your scissors again. I really must buy a pair of long scissors. So there is your Zonka. You don't need much, that's why I use a small clip. Straighten your thread again. Come in with your dubbing needle and split your thread again. There we go. Incorporate your Zonka strip again, pull it back. And all you've got to do is spin your bobbin again. The reason why I put the Zonka strip over the top of the fins is just because I want the profile more than anything. I'm not really fussed about the fish seeing those partridge, but it just gives them a really nice profile to the fly. So I've spun that once, and just spin it again just for a few more seconds. There we go. Shorten the length of your bobbin again, of your thread, and then your last few turns at the head here. Everything's getting trapped. There we go. And then do a few more turns with your thread over the top, just to make sure everything is trapped in nicely. I'm just going to moisten it just slightly, just so everything is out of my way. Come in with some varnish, whatever varnish you want to use. Place it on your thread. Grab your wood finish tool. Mine's got crud all over it for some reason. And then just do a whip finish. Trim off your excess thread, put your bobbin down, and there is your Jig Sculpin. Give this fly a go. I know it's a relatively long fly, but give this fly a go. Moves really well. It's going to fish upside down with the tail flapping, and yeah. Some people ask how I fish these, and yes, I do fish them on my 3-weight rod, my 11-foot 3-weight Vision Nymph Maniac rod. And all I do is I'll cast it out, the same as I do nymphs, cast it out, and then I do I'll wait for it to hit the bottom, and then once it hits the bottom I do a very slow jigging motion. And that jigging motion is to simulate them skipping over the rocks on the bottom of the riverbed. So this is that's how I fish them also. You might want to bump up your tippet strength as well. I tend to use maybe 6 pound when I'm using these, because obviously they're heavy fly and they're hitting the bottom, so I usually use 6 pound tippet if I can get away with that. Depends on the river. Some rivers don't even allow you to fish 6 pound. But anyway, give this one a go. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy it, and I will see you on the next video.